Oh god. Now you may be wondering, is Luis from Bus Voyage so painfully on brand that he carries a drill with him every waking moment? And the answer is yes. But it's also related to my first tip, which is to use a drill to strand wires together. Simply chuck the wires into your drill and start screwing. Oh god. And start screwing very gently. Tracing your wires as well as running them through conduit becomes so much easier once you've stranded your wires. Liquid electrical tape, one of my favorite volatile organic compounds. This versatile little substance can be used to waterproof electrical connections and also act as a liquid gasket, so you can use it to coat any rough areas that you might be running wire through, such as this metal framing that's holding my AC up. And that'll just allow you to run wire through those rough areas without risking cutting your insulation up and causing something really bad like a ground fault. So you can see here my wires are not catching at all, and this is just a huge convenience. It lets you run wires a lot more places, a lot more safely. Tip number 4. Use an electrical test jig. Now all that is a 9-volt battery and a couple of alligator clips. The whole setup shouldn't cost you more than $2 or $3. Now this is super useful because it allows you to hot swap any electrical component that you have that can run off of 12 volts and test the circuit really easily. So your max fan, your water pump, any 12 volt appliance will usually run, most 12 volt appliances will run off of a 9 volt battery. So all you do is pay attention to the instructions telling you which terminal is positive, which is negative. Connect your alligator clips onto the battery, and then connect the leads onto whatever 12 volt appliance you want to test, such as your tongue. And voila! You can make sure that your appliance is working, and if it's not, you can promptly know to return it before installing it in your bus, hooking up the wiring for it, and turning on your batteries to realize that it doesn't work. When testing electrical components, you really want to fail fast and fail early so you don't end up with any nasty surprises later down the road. Also in the vein of testing, we have tip number 4, which is to use a multimeter. Now multimeters are super handy. They allow you to check the amperage, resistance, and voltage of any circuits that you touch these little probes to. Now there are plenty of tutorials online that teach you how to use one of these things, so I'm not going to go into that, but I will say, if you're just doing some basic electrical testing, you can get one of these for super cheap. This one was $5, you can get one for like $7 now, this exact same one from Harbor Freight or many places online. But I would like to share a quick story with you about how this actually saved me from an electrical fire. The first time that I hooked up my entire electrical system, plugged it into my wall, electricity's running through my inverter and it's charging up my batteries. Said, okay, everything looks fine, I'll check on it in a bit. Come back in 30 minutes, I'm poking around different spots on the circuit with my multimeter, and sure enough, I found one dead spot in the circuit. I touch my 2 fingers to the insulation of the wire that's going into that circuit. One side was fine, and then the other side, it was screaming hot. It was hot enough that the insulation started to warp when I touched my fingers to it. So I rip my fingers back, I unplug everything, I start panicking, and I realized that a grounding terminal that this wire was going into was actually not tightened down all the way. And that could have gone really badly. If that was in a tight, confined space with some other fire hazards around it, could have easily started an electrical fire. At best, it would have, melted a wire and fried a component in my electrical system. And if you've started building one of these, everything's super expensive, so it's painful if one of them dies on you. So I would definitely recommend one of these, and I would definitely recommend using it to check your circuits as you're building out your electrical system to make sure everything is working as you would expect. Now, tip 4.5 should be very obvious after hearing the last tip, but it's tighten your terminals down the right amount. And the reason I say the right amount and not, as tightly as you can is because tightening a terminal down too tight can actually harm your electrical connection. It can harm the wire that you're squishing down by crushing the strands or denting the wire if you're using solid wire. So after repeated loosenings and tightenings of your terminals, you can actually damage your wire, causing a voltage drop. And that's something that we really want to avoid. Now obviously you also don't want your terminals to be too loose, because then you'll end up with the problem that I just described, which is a ground circuit that is not actually grounding and just a bunch of electricity building up in a certain spot, causing a hot spot in your system. That's really bad. That's super bad. It's much better to over-tighten your terminals than to under-tighten. But the right amount to tighten your terminals is to tighten as much as you can until the terminal stops moving with a regular amount of hand pressure. And then maybe a half turn, a quarter turn past that, and you're perfect. You are golden there. You won't get any voltage drops and you won't harm your wire. You don't want to put all of your force into tightening that terminal down because it can harm your wire or harm your battery if you're using, some kind of lead acid batteries that you're tightening terminals down onto. Don't tighten with all your force. Tighten as far as you can with normal hand strength, and then maybe a quarter to a half turn past that, and you'll be perfect. All right, guys, that's been my 4.5 tips on how to make your electrical work go faster and be much safer. I hope you learned something today, and while it wasn't as fun as showing you how to start electrical fires, it's probably a little bit more useful. All right, this is Luis from Bus Voyage signing out. I'll catch y'all later.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for new videos every Thursday.
And if you want to learn more about the bus conversion process, or you just enjoy watching us do it, feel free to watch some more of our videos over here or over here. That felt pretty good.